1. The Jataka Tales. The Jataka Tales are stories of the past lives of the Buddha, and they convey moral and ethical teachings through various narratives. These stories are often long, and while they may not specifically be 5,000 lines, they cover a wide array of lessons on compassion, wisdom, patience, and morality. 2. The Dhammapada. The Dhammapada is a collection of sayings of the Buddha in verse 4. While it doesn't contain exactly 5,000 lines, it consists of 423 verses divided into 26 chapters. The teachings are rich and dense with meaning, covering topics like the Eightfold Path, ethical conduct, and meditation. 3. Mahayana Sutras. In Mahayana Buddhism, some sutras such as the Lotus Sutra or Avatamsaka Sutra are known for their length and depth. The Avatamsaka Sutra, Flower Garland Sutra, instance, is a massive and profound text with teachings on interconnectedness, wisdom, and the nature of reality. It could be described metaphorically as a 5,000-line discourse due to its vastness and depth. Or the Pali Canon. Pali Canon, Tipitaka, is the foundational scripture of Theravada Buddhism. It consists of 3 baskets, pitakas, of teachings: Sutta Pitaka, discourses; Vinaya Pitaka, rules for monks; and Abhidhamma Pitaka, philosophical teachings. These texts are extensive, and within them, there are many lengthy sutras that explain the path to enlightenment. Core teachings in Buddhist stories: impermanence, anicca. Buddhist stories often emphasize that everything in life is transient, and clinging to material things or desires leads to suffering. Suffering, dukkha. Many of the narratives discuss how life is filled with suffering, and the path to liberation involves understanding and overcoming this suffering. Non-self, anatta. The teachings often explain the concept of no fixed, permanent self, which helps to reduce attachment and ego. Compassion, karuna, and loving kindness, metta. Stories in Buddhism frequently stress the importance of developing compassion for all being. The story of the wise sage and the young disciple. In a land far away, nestled within the mountains of a peaceful kingdom, lived an aged monk named Sage Tathya. His name meant truth, and for many years he had guided countless disciples along the path of awakening. Among his many disciples was a young seeker named Arjun, who sought to understand the ways of life, how to find peace amidst the storms of human existence. One day, Arjun approached the sage with a troubled heart. He had been meditating for days, yet the clamor of his mind remained uncontrollable. "Master," Arjun said, his voice trembling, "I seek peace, but my mind is restless. The world around me is full of suffering, and I feel overwhelmed by its weight. How do I find calm when the storm rages within and without?" The sage smiled and gestured for Arjun to sit beside him by a serene lake. The wind was gentle, and the surface of the lake reflected the clear blue sky. "Look at the lake, Arjun," the sage said. "What do you see?" "I see my reflection, master. It is calm and still." Sage Tathya nodded. "The mind is like this lake. When it is disturbed by the winds of desire, fear, and attachment, its surface becomes rippled, distorting everything. But when the winds cease, the water becomes clear and the world is reflected as it is, without distortion." "But master," Arjun replied, "how can I still the wind? How can I calm the storm inside me?" Teaching 1, Impermanent, Anicca. The sage began by teaching the first principle, Anicca, the law of impermanence. Nothing in this world is permanent, not even the storm. The winds of life, pain, sorrow, joy, and even peace will come and go like the ripples on this lake. When you understand that everything is transient, you will stop clinging to moments of joy or resisting moments of suffering. Both will pass just as the seasons change. If you hold on to nothing, then nothing will have the power to disturb your mind. Sage Tathya dipped his hand into the lake, creating small ripples. "These ripples are your thoughts and emotions, Arjun. They arise, stay for a while, and then disappear. Do not chase them. Do not push them away. Watch them, knowing they are temporary." Arjun gazed at the ripples, feeling a sense of lightness as he grasped the truth in his master's words. Teaching 2, Mindfulness, Sati. The sage then spoke of sati, practice of mindfulness. To calm the mind, you must be fully present, Arjun. When you dwell on the past, you stir up the waters with regret. When you live in the future, you create waves of anxiety. True peace comes when you anchor yourself in the present moment, observing all that arises without judgment. Tathya picked up a single lotus petal and placed it on the lake's surface. It floated peacefully, untouched by the ripples beneath. Your awareness is like this petal, floats above the turbulent waters when you practice mindfulness, observing the flow of life without getting caught in it. Arjun began to understand. He realized that his mind had been trapped in constant rumination, either replaying the past or fearing the future. He vowed to practice staying in the present. Teaching 3. Non-attachment, anatta. Sage Tathya continued with the teaching of anatta, principle of non-self or non-attachment. You must also release the notion that you are a fixed self, a solid entity that suffers or enjoys. The self you cling to is but a collection of thoughts, feelings, and experiences, none of which are permanent. Let go of this attachment to I, me, and mine. When you realize that you are not separate from the universe, that you are one with all things, you will find true peace. The waves cannot disturb the ocean itself, just as the fleeting thoughts and emotions cannot disturb the deep stillness within you. Arjun meditated on this profound truth. He recognized that his suffering was not a punishment inflicted by life, but the result of his attachment to a fragile sense of self. By letting go of the illusion of control, found a new sense of freedom. Teaching 4. Compassion, metta. Finally, the sage spoke of metta, practice of loving kindness. True resilience comes not only from understanding impermanence or letting go of the self, but also from cultivating compassion for all being. Life is full of suffering, but when you open your heart to the pain of others, you transcend your own suffering. When you extend love to all without distinction, you dissolve the barriers that create fear and isolation. The sage told Arjun a story about a great bodhisattva who, despite attaining enlightenment, chose to remain in the world to help others. Compassion is the highest form of strength. When you give freely to others without expecting anything in return, you cultivate a heart as vast as the ocean, immovable, serene, and filled with love. Arjun felt a warmth grow within him, a deep desire to serve others. He realized that his suffering was not unique, and by helping others, he could find the resilience to face his own challenges. Conclusion: the journey within. In time, Arjun became a master of his own mind, finding peace in the face of life's storms. He lived by the lake, continuing his meditation and offering guidance to those who sought it. He understood the teachings of sage Tathya, that impermanence is the nature of all things, that mindfulness keeps us grounded in the present, that non-attachment frees us from suffering, and that compassion connects us to the boundless love of the universe. And so, like the still waters of the lake, Arjun's heart reflected the world in perfect clarity, calm, and resilience. Key teachings summarized: impermanence, anicca. Accept that all things are fleeting, and peace comes when we stop resisting change. Mindfulness, sati. Stay present in the moment, free from the distractions of past and future. Non-attachment, anatta. Let go of the illusion of a fixed self and release the need to control. Compassion, metta. Develop loving kindness for all beings, as this is the true path to resilience and inner peace. These teachings are at the core of Buddhist philosophy and practice, guiding us to a life of serenity, clarity, and unshakable resilience.